Hello, hello. Thank you for being here. Who's here? I'm going to give 2 minutes for all of you to show up. And then we're going to start, okay? 2 minutes. So at 12:32, I am going to start. And if you're watching a replay, thank you so much for being patient with the 2 minutes. I know last time I kind of straggled and waiting for people, and I realized that people who are watching the replay might not want to stick around. So I am only going to do 2 minute wait time for people to kind of get on, get their notification that I'm live. So let's see, there's one person here. Why can't I see it? Hold on. There we go. Okay. Hi, Gloriana. I'm so happy you can join me. Thank you. Who else is here? Post in the comments because I can't see it. I can see there's some other people here, so just say hello so I know who I'm talking to. Okay, so it's 2 minutes in. So I'm going to start. And for those of you who don't know me, for those of you who are new to the group, I'm Yana. And I'm really happy that you're in the group, that you're watching this Facebook Live. Thank you so much. So I'm a marriage coach, and I help women get unstuck in their relationships and create fulfilling partnerships with their men. I'm very passionate about this. And I love this group. It's such a great support group, and I want you guys to, feel like it's a safe space for you to get whatever support you need in your marriage, because marriage is hard and you don't have to do it alone. We're all in it together, and it feels alone, feels like a lonely path a lot of times, but it doesn't have to be. So, and I know there's a lot of shame and guilt, around this topic for a lot of women, because we think that we need to have it all figured out. We need to know how to do this, and we don't. A lot of times we don't know how to do this. So, yeah, that's why I created this support group for all of us to support each other. And, if you need support, I'm here for you. Who else is here? Samantha. Hi, Samantha. Thank you for being here. So I'm sure you have a ton of stuff going on and busy lives. And I know I do, but you're choosing to make your relationship a priority by watching this video. And I know for me, it takes a lot of work and effort. And this work is hard. And I would much rather be, cleaning or doing house chores or being with my kids or whatever, just to not really do this work because it's really uncomfortable. But I also have such a bigger commitment to being fulfilled, and most importantly, teaching my kids what it's like to have a loving relationship where my husband and I both are happy and expressed. And by modeling that, hopefully my kids learn to be in a relationship where they're happy and expressed. So, it's way bigger and way more important for us to work on our marriages than to kind of do the busy work. And it takes work to work on your marriage. So I really acknowledge you for doing the work, because I know it's not easy. So I don't know if, some of you watched last week's Facebook Live. If you haven't, I really encourage you to do that, because I'm sharing a lot of things from a program, an 8-week course that I created for women to transform their marriages. And if you want to know more about that, just PM me. I'm going to be sharing more about that. And what I've done is I've taken the main distinctions out of that program and I've put it into these Facebook Lives so I can share with you, these really life-changing distinctions that hopefully will shift your marriage. And of course, if you want to dig deeper, like I said, PM me. I'd love to share with you more about the program. So anyways, last week we looked at what's predictable about your relationship, and we explored why it's predictable. I don't know if you did this work. If you did the work, or if you watched last week's video, can you please post in the comments so I know how much I can refer to it? And like I said, if you haven't, don't worry. I think this will still be very, very useful for you. Hi, Blanca. So today we're going to explore two ideas, okay? First, we're going to distinguish the default relationship that you are in, because we're all in a default learned relationship. I shared about that last week. And then second, we're going to uncover what this big lie is in your relationship and why this matters so much to you. Now, the big lie is a distinction that, I share about in my program, and I've coached women through this. And when we get to this part and they realize it, they're like, holy crap, like, I can't believe that I've been, living kind of this big lie. And this is what stops you from having the relationship that you want and desire. So pay attention, okay? Now, there's this like default distinction that's called relationship. Okay, we all are in a relationship, but I want you to think about something. Consider that all of us unconsciously create relationships that are based on limiting beliefs that were built in order to survive past hurts, childhood traumas, and learned ways of being. How many of you can relate with that? Like, how many can see all of your past kind of playing out in your current relationship? So we have unspoken expectations, and our communication is unclear, it's unconscious, it's implied, and it's assumed, and usually it's withheld when we're in this default relationship. And until our expectations aren't met. So once our expectations aren't met, we're disappointed, and then we become right about the story that we've been telling all along. So I want you to think about it. What is the story that you've been telling yourself about men? Like your whole life, right? Last week I shared about that we create these stories, right? From, the men in our lives, from our dads, our moms, and from movies and so on. So for me, some of the stories that I've been telling about men in my life, like about my husband, is that I can't trust him. I'm not safe. I'm not loved, and I'm all alone. And, on the surface, like, if I look at it, I'm like, yeah, right. Like, it's not really. But when I really dig deep and I think about it, I'm like, oh, shoot, like, this is what is kind of running the show. And I'll give you an example. Like, if my husband doesn't take out the trash, right away, I have this story in the background, like, oh my God, I'm all alone. Like, I'm the one who has to do all the work. Or if he goes out with his friends, I can't count on him, or I can't trust him. That's like the story that runs in the background. I want you to type in the comments, what stories about men, actually, what stories about your husband do you tell yourself? Some more for me is like, if, he has too much work and he's not spending time with the kids, I automatically like, oh my God, of course I have to do it all on my own. He doesn't really care. He doesn't really love me. And it all goes back to my childhood stories that I've created about, my dad and the men in my life. So yeah, type in the comments, what stories have you been telling about your husband? I want to see. I'm going to have a drink of water too. Okay. That he wants to control you. I think a lot of women can relate to that one, Gloriana. Anybody else? We'll kind of see the comments as they come. But consider that you have been trying to get your man to fill the holes or the wounds that you've suffered from your past. That you're an emotional burden to your husband, Julie. Yeah, that he doesn't care about our family. Ugh. And it's so real, right? Like when it's all good and we're, nice and everything is great, we don't have these stories. But like the moment something goes wrong, right? Like the moment you guys get into an argument or something triggers you, like you go right to your story. So another question for you, what expectations didn't get met for you in your relationship? What did you decide to be true? So, you know, we all go into marriage having expectations, and then something doesn't get met. And it's like that story gets triggered, and it just keeps, you know, kind of reinventing itself in a bigger and bigger, and you keep finding proof for it, and you keep getting, you know, more and more proof for it until it's like, this is the truth. This is how he is, and you're going to be right about it. Okay. So guess what? This is present like in all of your interactions. Every interaction you have with your husband, the story is running in the background, and you're looking for that proof to prove yourself right in the story. And now I want you to take a look at your partner. Given that he's in a relationship with you, what expectations is he never going to live up to? Can you think of it? Now, what do you think is predictable for him in the future with somebody like you? Not like there's anything wrong with you, like you're great. And just, you know, if you really take this on and you realize, you know, and you become responsible and you realize that you have these expectations of him that he's never going to live up to, what do you think is his experience of life and being in a relationship with you? And post in the comments. I really want to see you girls doing the work. That's what it takes to really like do the work and write this down, not just think about it in your head. Because being responsible for this stuff is the first step. And, you know, in the course, we go a lot deeper, and the women actually go to work and do the exercises. So you're kind of getting a little taste of it by doing it in this, you know, in the comments. So now, as you're thinking about this, and hopefully you're writing it down, can you see that how this is exactly how your relationship was always going to go? Like, this is always how it would end up for you. And there's nothing that you could have done about the trajectory of your relationship until now. Like, just being conscious of this, you have the power to do something different. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with you. It's perfect. It's just something to be conscious about. Now, for me, when, you know, I still go through this all the time with my husband. Like, I still run these stories all the time. But when I'm present to this and when I'm conscious about this, I can actually be responsible. Like, oh shit, like he didn't take out the trash. And what I'm making it mean is that he doesn't care, that, you know, I'm all on my own. And it's just not true. And I can be responsible for it and have some freedom and actually like ask him to take the trash out. And he usually is happy to do it. But what I'm saying is, like, I don't have to be stuck in that story. So as long as that story is kind of running you, you're stuck in it and you're a victim of it. Okay. So what stories are you guys, you know, telling yourself? I want you to keep thinking about it during this video. Okay. Now I'm going to share with you your biggest unspoken fear of being in a relationship. Okay. This is a lie that you've never shared with anybody. And it's a belief that you've never spoken out loud. You've never talked to your partner about it or anybody that you've ever been with. So are you ready? Okay. So if you're not ready, get ready. And this, I mean, it might sound a bit radical and you might go like, what the hell? Like, this is not true. But I just want you to consider that you have never believed that your marriage was ever going to work out. And in the end, that your relationship is going to fail. And you believe that in the end, you're going to be unfulfilled and unsatisfied. And do you know how I know this? Because I and you and all of us, we've never had any evidence of a marriage really working out. Not from your mom or your dad or grandparents or uncles or aunts or all the movies or love songs or whatever, you know, you kind of created these beliefs based on. Your entire view of a marriage was that it would never work out. Not really. Like, even if you had relationships that, you know, you saw that were great. There was always something that wasn't fully like what you wanted. It's this like fairy tale romance that we always, you know, imagine, but we never kind of see. And yeah, so I want you to really think about this. This is like the biggest freaking lie that we walk around with. So I'm not saying that you don't hope or you dream or wish, you know, for your relationship to working out. What I'm saying is that at the end of all of it, you really don't believe it. And you never talk about this with anybody. Nobody actually talks about this. Okay? Nobody. There is just too much shame and guilt in this. So can you guys see this? Post in the comments if you see this as real for you. Now, I want to remind you of something really important, because what happens with all of us when we hear this is like, oh shit, like we go into a place of blaming ourselves and making this really, you know, like it's something wrong. And this is not the truth. There's nothing wrong, and it's just very ordinary. This is like what everybody deals with. And you have a lot of evidence and you have a lot of agreement for this with everybody and everywhere you look. It's the norm. Like you watch TV, you talk to your friends, you know, everybody wants to be right about their stories. And it's just the way that we've been programmed. So what I'm sharing with you, like probably normally and naturally, you're going to want to push back. Okay. But really consider it, because this is what is going to have you gain freedom in your relationship, is just acknowledging it and just realizing like, oh my God, this is how I'm programmed. I mean, I deal with this every single day. I literally wake up looking for ways my relationship is not going to work out. And, you know, I want to prove my stories being true. So I wake up and I'm like, if my husband is still asleep and he's not helping with the kids, right away in my mind, somewhere in the background, I'm like, he's not helping me. I'm all alone. I have to do this all on my own, yada, 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 right? Like all day long, I'm looking for ways how I can make him wrong, how my stories, you know, can be proven true. So how many of you guys can relate to this? I want you guys to really get this, how it's playing out in your life. So post in the comments how this is something that is showing up in your life. Like, how do you wake up and when are you looking for ways it's not going to work out? And we do this in all areas, but I really want you to focus on your marriage. Where are you doing this in your marriage? And you have no control over this. This is the trap you live in. And, you know, there's like no way of getting out of the trap until you actually acknowledge this. So true. Yes, Gloriana, I'm glad that you're doing the work. Thank you. So like I said, the first step to getting out of the trap is to distinguish it and to acknowledge it. And this is what it's going to take for you. This is like the work, the uncomfortable, hard work. Because naturally we want to blame him and we don't want to do the work ourselves. Like we want to find ways of how, you know, he's not doing the work. But who cares? The only person that can do the work right now is you. And, you know, stop expecting him to do the work. He's on his own path and he's going to do his own work. But right now we're focusing on what, you know, you can do and what you can do to like shift your perspective. So as you think about this, I want you to start getting present to the impact of never believing in any relationship that you've ever been in, like in your life ever. Can you guys see that? It's not something that you can understand with your conscious mind only. It can't just be understood or remembered. It actually must be like experienced and relived. You have to feel it, okay? You have to really go back and see what the impact is. And ultimately, you've never believed, and you still don't believe in your husband. I know this is like a painful truth, but just bear with me. Think of an event that proves that you can't count on your husband. What are the thoughts what are the emotions that are associated with this specific event? For me, you know, I'm trying to think of an event that I mean, literally just like yesterday. I mean, this is not a big event, but even yesterday. So my husband doesn't drink. He hasn't been drinking for a year. And yesterday he went out with a buddy and he had some beers. And, you know, he came home and he was just like acting all silly, and I smelled the beer on his breath. And right away I was like, oh, see, can't trust them. Like, I wonder what the hell he was doing and all this stuff. And like, I trust my husband, right? Like, we have an amazing relationship, thank God. And it's funny because I still caught my thoughts about like how I can't trust him, because it's just running in the background. And then the moment I caught those thoughts, I just let it go. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is not the truth. So what is the impact, you know, of on you of living into this future with your husband? So what's the impact on your husband of living with a wife that comes from a way of being with him? So for me, when I look at the impact, you know, even like yesterday, I was distant from him. Like, I don't want to kiss him. Like, I was just like, okay, you know, pretending basically. I wasn't being myself. So the impact on me is like, I'm not really expressed, and underneath I'm being fake and I'm pretending with him. And then the impact on him, he was just like happy and excited, but he probably was like, what the hell? Like, he probably didn't feel free. Like, he could just go out and, you know, and do whatever he does, or like have a beer and just relax once in a while, because he actually never does that. But anyways, what I'm saying is I want you guys to start catching yourself and really like seeing the impact, because that's when you're gonna actually realize, when you see the impact, when you're gonna realize that it's not working for you to keep doing this and putting it in the future. And I know this work is really uncomfortable. And, you know, it takes something to do this work. But girl, I promise you, if you do this work on a daily basis, this is what it takes for you to kind of start transforming. Not kind of, it's actually going to transform your relationship. And the more you can catch yourself in these stories and in these thoughts and shift and really take responsibility, the more you're going to gain freedom in your relationship. And the more you can create the relationship that you desire. And I really acknowledge you for doing this work and looking inside of yourself. Also, I want you to know that I am here to support you in creating the marriage that you know, where you feel fulfilled and express. Like I said in the beginning of the video, you don't have to do it alone. And, you know, I shared a little bit about the program, but the program that I created, it really goes deep, you know, to working on these stories where you are like just distinguishing everything that's keeping you from having the relationship of your dreams. So I really invite you to look into this program. It's going to empower you to have the most incredible relationship. It starts in June. Message me if you want more details. I want to support you. And, you know, I'm rooting for you to have the marriage that you desire. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And, you know, today is Ask Me Anything Day. On Thursdays, I'm going to start doing that. So if you guys have more questions, post in the thread that says Ask Me Anything, and I'm happy to answer your questions about relationships or whatever. So love you girls. Thank you for being here. Have a beautiful day. And I'll see you next week. I'm going to do these weekly. So, okay, bye.